everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from a gorgeous, but maybe schizophrenic in weather terms, Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up on the show today, Dan, we're going to be talking about people who claim to know things that they don't really know.
Yeah, there's a certain type of person, maybe it's you, maybe it's me, who can't stand the idea that that someone would know that they don't know something. And a new research study has come out that has some very interesting insights into that type of person, especially when as it pertains to their religious beliefs. So we will chat about that
Fascinating
later
stuff.
on.
All right. Well, cool. Well, in the meantime, Dan,
Yeah.
somebody wrote Donald Trump a letter.
Oh,
I'm
guessing he's getting quite a few letters these days.
Yeah, well, maybe not all as sort of fawning as this one. This
it's one of those.
This was written by Archbishop Carlo Maria Vagano, Catholic Archbishop.
That's the best kind of archbishop, if you ask me.
Who he has some ideas that he wanted to share with Donald Trump about the coronavirus pandemic, about Black Lives Matter, and sort of their these two things, things that are happening in our world and in our country, and how they relate to the deep state.
The deep state.
The deep state, Dan.
It's a very, very real thing that
apparently
only a certain segment of our society actually talks about.
Yeah, and apparently the coronavirus pandemic and the protests that have come about due to the murder of George Floyd,
right,
are all part of a deep state plot to hurt the president's reelection. And I have the letter.
This is from an archbishop?
This is from an archbishop. Apparently, he still holds the title archbishop, I guess. He's retired currently. But he's one of these Catholic figures who stands in sort of contrast to Pope Francis, who, Pope Francis has actually come out and said things about the Black Lives Matter protests in support of sort of this movement of anti-racism that's really gaining a lot of both attention and steam and support.
Yeah.
And so Pope Francis is on sort of that side, and apparently there is like this conservative nut job side of the Catholic Church, which of course makes, you just say the words and it makes total sense.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't aware that wasn't the only side.
Right, yeah, I guess Pope Francis is actually more of the surprising side. But nonetheless, the letter is insanity. I actually have a copy of it, and I went through and I marked some of the parts that I really like, or at least... I don't really like what he's saying, but you know what I mean, right?
Yes.
He says...
Highlights.
He says, there are those who serve themselves. He said there are two sides, right? Let me back up in the letter just a little bit. He's sort of setting up this dynamic of there being two sides. There's sort of the offspring of the woman and the offspring of the serpent, right?
God.
On the one hand, though, there are those who, although they have 1,000 defects and weaknesses, are motivated by a desire to do good, to be honest, to raise a family, to engage in work, to give prosperity to their homeland, to help the needy. And on the other hand, there are those who serve themselves, who do not hold any moral principles, who want to demolish the family and the nation, exploit workers to make themselves unduly wealthy, foment internal divisions and wars, and accumulate power and money. Guess what side he puts Donald Trump? He's not putting him in the most obvious side, which is, people who don't have any moral principles and exploit workers and foment internal divisions and wars and accumulate power and money. He's not putting him on that side.
No.
He actually has the audacity to say that's clearly
Mr.
not
President,
you.
Mr. President, you may not be aware of this, but there's this group of people. You wouldn't even know that they exist because you're so saintly, but there's this group of people who, unlike you, are super interested in their own personal gain and ripping other people off so that they become for their own aggrandizement.
It's amazing, right?
Wow.
He says, in society, Mr. President, these two opposing realities coexist as eternal enemies. And it appears that the children of darkness, whom we may easily identify with the deep state, which you wisely oppose, and which is fiercely waging war against you in these days, have decided to show their cards by revealing their plans, right? So apparently, apparently these plans are to take this COVID emergency, right, which is, he says... let's see. We will also discover that the riots in these days were provoked by those who, seeing that the virus is inevitably fading and that the social arm of the pandemic is waning, necessarily have had to provoke civil disturbances. It is quite clear that the use of street protests is instrumental to the purposes of those who would like to see someone elected in the upcoming presidential elections who embodies the goals of the deep state. It will not be surprising if in a few months we learn once again that hidden behind these acts of vandalism and violence, there are those who hope to profit from the dissolution of the social order so as to build a world without freedom.
Wow. That's a hell of a thing.
How do you look at these current events and come up with this?
I don't know. Monsignor QAnon is definitely... smoking his own pipe there.
It gets better, Dan.
Oh, there's more?
There's more. He says, just as there is a deep state, there is also a deep church that betrays its duties.
Oh, I love it.
I'm
so happy. We've gone full Dan Brown now.
And
keep going.
And forswears its proper commitments before God. Thus, the invisible enemy whom good rulers fight against in public affairs is also fought against by good shepherds in the ecclesiastical sphere. He says, wow. This is amazing. For the first time, the United States has in you a president who courageously defends the right to life, who is not ashamed to denounce the persecution of Christians throughout the world, who speaks of Jesus Christ and the right of Christians to freedom of worship.
Wow.
Unbelievable. And then he this is what I will read of his in conclusion because he keeps going. He says, I believe that the attack to which you were subjected after your visit to the National Shrine of St. John Paul II is part of the orchestrated media which seeks not to fight racism and bring social order, but to aggravate dispositions, not to bring justice, but to legitimize violence and crime.
What's really crazy that I just thought of is that there actually is a deep state problem. Like there's a group of people working against American interests to foment like American problems, but it's not our state. It's Russian.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there is a group of people who is working on this. It's just not liberals in the United States. It's a bunch of Russians.
Yeah. Clearly. Anyway.
Which makes me sound like when I say that, I sound like a conspiracy theorist. But we know that happened.
Right.
It is happening.
It's not a conspiracy theory.
Right. It's a fact
evidence
that has been proven in U.S. Congress by people trying to disprove it.
Right. This isn't just conjecture followed by conjecture based on conjecture. Right.
Right.
So,
Oh my God.
but anyway.
That's amazing though. I love that priest.
Well, and like the one thing Donald Trump needs is anybody like giving him some narrative of like his like divine role or something.
Right.
Like, a man who's already like so completely fucking full of himself in every other way, and now he's God's servant sent to vanquish, and like,
he has surrounded himself by that narrative. That is literally like every every pastor that's allowed into the White House is allowed the password that they have to use is Trump is actually God.
Well, now
anyway,
add the Catholics.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that
or
is just
Catholic at least.
That's cute as can be. Anyway, I am going to talk a little bit about another religion, the Sikh faith. Which, nice folks. I love their food. Anyway, apparently they've been suffering under a crazed problem for the last 3 months that I hadn't heard about at all, which is that Facebook and Instagram had blocked the hashtag Sikh. For 3 months, that has been blocked.
Why?
Apparently, what they're claiming is that someone just reported the hashtag, and someone there, upon reviewing it said, yeah, no, and blocked the hashtag completely.
This is absolutely bizarre.
Sikhism, all of those things were apparently just talking about them was apparently outside of Facebook and Instagram's standards.
I don't understand. Like
for
how?
3 whole months.
Based on what?
Nothing. They're now Facebook and Instagram are now they're the same company. Facebook is now apologizing and saying that
profusely.
You'd think. They're just saying it was a mistake. But boy, for an entire ancient religion to suddenly be just cut out of a hashtag,
and like one of the nice ones.
Yeah, right?
Like not a very problematic religion. I mean, all religion's problematic, but like, if you gotta pick one, they're not so bad.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And it's amazing because, for 3 months, if you tried to use that hashtag, an error message would come up and just say that, and apparently the whole post would be hidden because of, quote, unusual activity, like being Sikh or having the audacity to talk about a brown religion.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing that this was allowed to happen, and equally amazing that we didn't hear about it in a time when people, I guess there are other things that people are talking about.
How could you? The hashtag was broken.
Right. That's right.
How are you going to find any information without a goddamn hashtag?
Yeah. Yeah, amazing.
Wow.
And all of this comes right as there were, I guess right now is about the time when a Sikh genocide was happening in 1984. So everybody wanted, so all of these Sikh people wanted to talk about that.
Oh God.
And apparently they were being prevented. They can do it now. Congratulations, Sikhs. You can talk about your genocide again.
Wow. Well, that's choice.
Yeah.
All right, Dan. A new poll with findings.
Oh, you love a good poll.
About Americans and their perception of Trump, right?
Oh.
This actually is kind of an interesting one to follow up from like my first story. So apparently, according to a Politico Morning Consult poll that was released Wednesday. They found that 27% of Americans see Trump as a man of faith.
27.
27. I would say interesting. That's not the number I thought it would be.
That sounds low.
Sounds low, right?
Well, I mean, it sounds like high considering nobody should see that guy as a man of faith. But
Right.
a lot of people have delusions.
Yeah.
So
It's both a shocking and strangely reassuring number.
Yeah.
It's apparently, so 27% of respondents somewhat or strongly agree that Trump is religious. 55% somewhat or strongly disagree with that statement.
Interesting.
About a third of Christians see Trump as religious. Interesting.
Only a third of
Only
Christians.
a third of Christians. 50% of Christians say he is not.
Yeah.
40% of evangelicals.
Thank you for waking up, you guys. That's really good. We've been here this whole time. Welcome.
40% of evangelicals agreed or agreed with the statement that Trump was a man of faith. 33% on that one disagreed.
Well, that's actually crazy too. Like, that evangelicals are his base. If his popularity is eroding with them, he's fucked.
Yeah. And just in case you want to know about the timing of the poll, it was taken after Donald Trump visited the shrine that we talked about, the Catholic shrine.
And did the awkward Bible holding?
Yeah, at St. John's Episcopal Church, both in Washington D.C.
Wow.
So that was after that stunt and the clearing the crowd with the peacefully gathered crowd with what are they called, flashbangs and tear gas,
and whatever.
Yeah. So.
Oh, they're claiming it's not tear gas. Don't worry, it was only pepper spray. Like that's so much better.
It was just bear mace.
Yeah. Calm down, everybody. Jesus, it wasn't a war crime. It was just a hateful, awful. It was just a terrible thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That is interesting about the timing because the stunt was so. Obviously, they're done to appeal to them and to say, to signal, I'm Christian like you guys.
Absolutely.
And it apparently ain't worked a tit at all.
Ain't worked a tit?
Yeah. That seems to have been what came out of my mouth. I'm not going to own it, but that seems to have been what actually happened in my face.
Okay.
I do like the phrase ain't worked a tit, though, and I think we should start saying it. Let's put it on a T-shirt. That ain't worked a tit.
That's ridiculous.
Oh, Lord. I guess I should do another story then.
It is your turn, yeah.
I want to talk about a guy named Mark Janney. He's an atheist who went to jail. Not all atheists are law-abiding. And he, in 2015, was released. And his parole officer told him that if he wanted to remain out of prison, he would have to go and live at a rescue mission, which is a homeless shelter for Christians.
Oh, God.
And, of course, that shelter has certain rules, and those rules require residents to participate in worship services. Well, he said, how about this? I will do not that, and let's come up with a different possibility.
Yeah.
Which they said no.
Oh, God.
He sued, but did not have the funds for a lawyer, apparently. He represented himself. And the district court eventually dismissed the case. But the ACLU has taken up the banner and is appealing that ruling. So
Good.
that means a lot. That means something very different is happening now.
So he's back in jail. He's back in prison.
Yes. Oh, I don't. He actually. He was sent back to prison for 5 more months.
Jesus
after
Christ.
that.
Jesus.
So 5 months of his life taken away because he doesn't want to pretend to believe in Jesus, which is pretty astounding.
You know,
So
God, that sucks. Good for him.
yeah.
I mean, taking a stand and and just flat refusing, because a lot of people I think would just be like, well, fuck it, I'll just suck it up, and it's 5 months, but then I'm done,
right?
And I don't have to go back to that place.
Yeah, and once somebody's out, to tell them, oh no, but we're gonna still control your life, and control even like matters of conscience, is astounding. So
it does say a lot about Christianity that prison was preferable.
Yeah. I don't disagree. It depends on what church you go to. But if they were like, do you want to stay in jail for 5 more months, or you have to be a Mormon for 5 more months? I'd be like, I don't know. Who has the better food? I don't know. I'd have to do some serious soul searching on that.
I'm pretty sure it's prison food. I mean, it's both green Jello with carrots in it, probably.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's the same.
Oh God, that's amazing.
Yikes.
All right, Dan.
Yeah.
Lindsey Graham, the great senator.
Oh. He is a peach.
From South Carolina, Lindsey Graham. He's quite possibly about to have a little bit of a problem on his hands, and this is one of those scenarios that years ago I was always a little uncomfortable with. It has to do with sort of the outing, the gay outing, or being outed as a gay man against your will. But when it comes to somebody like a Lindsey Graham, who has done so much to work against
to harm gay people,
harm gay people, he has helped pass legislation that damages the LGBT and other minority communities, and so this has a certain gay porn star all up in arms. He has been calling on Twitter. He says there is a homophobic Republican senator who is no better than Donald Trump, who keeps passing legislation that is damaging to the LGBT community. Every sex worker I know has been hired by this man. Wondering if enough of us spoke out, if that could get him out of office, right? He says, I cannot do this alone. If you'd be willing to stand with me against LG, please let me know. Well, there's only one senator
whose initials are LG.
Yeah. And apparently out in the gay sex worker community of, I guess, probably Washington, D.C., they all refer to Lindsey Graham as Lady G.
Interesting.
So the two different ways. Anyway.
That's astounding. First of all, it would explain a lot. I mean, the man's name is Lindsey. That right there should have been the tip off.
Jesus.
Also, have you seen he's been coloring his hair different lately? I don't know. I just think
I think that, like, if it's true, right, that Lindsey Graham is a closeted gay man,
right?
Then I think, and he hires sex workers, and is a hypocrite of that proportion, right?
Yeah.
Then he deserves whatever he gets, and if these guys want to out him, I think it's great, and I think that it's about time that people who have traded their identity, their integrity, their real selves for power, that they deserve no sort of normal protections that the gay community could possibly extend them.
I 100% agree. I think if you are a hypocrite and you're hurting people, and those people are the people that you should most be protecting because you're them, then fuck you. You deserve what you get. You've made your bed. Now, I hope somebody gets video. I hope.
Oh God!
I hope somebody just gets him now.
Ugh, if that video exists. Ugh.
Well, the problem is that if somebody actually has video of that, then they can just have whatever they want. You know what I mean? They could use it to help the country by getting rid of the jerk, or they can just become a millionaire and they just get a life in the lap of luxury for the rest of their lives. And frankly, I think a lot of people would choose that.
Well, fine.
Anyway, I have a report of wonderful news.
Oh,
From the land of Tanzania, that beautiful African country. They have achieved a miracle.
Oh,
and
what's that?
is they have eliminated COVID. COVID-19 is gone from Tanzania.
Oh,
Isn't
just
that-
like New Zealand. They did it.
Yes, they went about it a slightly different way, though.
Yeah.
And the way that they went about it, and I think that the rest of the world should look into this, is that they prayed. Their president, John Magufuli, called on the country to pray 3 days of just solid prayer. Was it 3 days? It was something like that. No, I can't see it. Anyway, they prayed hard, and then they just made sure to crack down on any information about positive tests in the country. And if you do that, then there's no COVID-19 anywhere in the country.
There's no
it's gone.
new recorded cases.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
They refused to shut down the churches, the mosques, the pubs, the restaurants. Those have all been up and running the whole time. And apparently, the neighboring countries are not pleased about this, including in one day, they tested 50 Tanzanian truck drivers they tested a bunch of Tanzanian truck drivers as they crossed the border into Kenya. And 50 of them tested positive in one day.
Oh,
so, no. Tanzania is probably suffering from one of the worst outbreaks in the world.
Oh, man.
But we're not allowed to know about it because all of the testing is being suppressed.
God. People make me sick.
But the praying, Frank, maybe it's working. Maybe it's helping. We can all just hope.
Prayer's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
Prayer, I'm a big believer in prayer, personally.
Absolutely. It's what holds the world together.
I just, whenever my tummy doesn't feel too good.
Oh, sure. Say a prayer.
Please, Jesus.
Say a prayer to Pepto.
Don't let this get bad.
Yeah. Anyway, there you go. Our country sort of flirted with the same methodology, but unfortunately we weren't able to do it. So now we
suck.
We're Utah's having a delightful big spike of it right now. That's fun.
I know.
Well, kids, if you want to tell us how your country's handling the COVID-19 thing, no bragging, Kiwis, come on. Please feel free to write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist. Click the like button.
And while you're there, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It's a closed group, but we will let you in. Also find us on Twitter @TGIAtheist.
Yeah, more to come.
Dan.
Yeah.
Mr. Rick Wiles.
Oh,
the
a wily fellow he is.
Hateful Rick Wiles.
But only if you're like a Jew or something. He
or
loves,
anybody who's not just a white Christian, to be honest.
or a liberal, or a woman, or black person.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. White
conservative
Christians he's
He
fond
might
of.
be okay with you. I bet he
Yeah.
could still find reasons to not like you because that's kind of just what he does.
Right.
But anyway, he has some things to say about tactics, I guess, that Trump could take and
Sure.
against liberals and liberal activists.
And I think it bears noting that this man has been to the White House, Trump's White House, several times, and has credentials to go to places like Davos under the White House banner. So it's not like he doesn't, he's talking as a person who knows, who has spoken with Trump personally while he's been president. So that makes it even more fun. Let's hear what he has to say.
Yeah.
We were concerned as conservatives, you're going to have a far left regime in power that is going to try to round up conservatives, confiscate guns, put people in detention centers and so forth. You know what? This is turning out to be Haman's gallows. What they planned for the church, for conservatives, for patriots, what they planned is going to be flipped around on them. There's a Republican president in the White House right now who's brought the military in. You know who's going to get rounded up? The left, the communists, the people who are burning down the country. That's who's going to get rounded up. This thing is completely flipped on them. And I have to think that privately, last night, a lot of them were starting to become afraid. I'm talking not the thugs in the street. I'm talking about the leaders, the ones who know that their names are linked to these organizations, secretly linked, that their bank accounts, the flow of money, the meetings, the trail of emails, text messages, that if the federal government comes in and begins a serious investigation, it's going to lead to some very powerful people. And the U.S. government is going to seize their bank accounts, seize their assets, and put some of these people in prison. If the U.S. military gets involved in this insurrection in the terms of finding who is carrying it out,
right,
the moment they shoot a soldier,
the game changes.
The game changes, doesn't it? The moment they kill American troops in the streets, this game changes completely because now the military is going to hunt them down. I know my enemies watch me. I hope you soiled your pants. I hope you're scared right now because the pendulum is swinging. You've been ripping this country apart for decades. You've been harassing God-fearing men and women, smearing people's names and reputations, fomenting sedition and revolution, poisoning the minds of children, defiling people's souls, and now you're on the verge of being outed.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just think, where does your brain have to be to start by going, these bad guys, they were going to take us, and they were going to hang us, and they were going to round us up, and they were going to kill us.
Right.
But instead, we're going to do it to them. Woohoo!
Well, it's Haman's gallows.
Oh my God.
Right.
I don't even know that reference.
Apparently, I had to look it up.
It's a biblical reference, right?
It's a biblical reference. Haman was the main antagonist in the book of Esther, apparently.
Okay.
And what I'm gathering very quickly, because I just did it while listening, and I was still trying to listen, was that he built some gallows that ended up being used on him.
Okay.
I think
Great.
that's what the story is. And that would fit with what Rick Wiles is talking about, and that's why my quick skimming, I think that's what.
I just think it's amazing. He's so incensed that this thing that was never going to happen was going to happen.
Yeah.
That the bad guys were going to do this, and then has no sense anywhere around him that if we do it, we're the bad guys. It's just when we do it, it's good.
Of course.
But if they do it, then
that's
it's awful.
That's how it always works, right? Like, yeah. Anyway.
Oh my God.
He's so. The pendulum is swinging. Yeah. Actually, it does feel like the pendulum is swinging. You dipshit.
Has he noticed what direction that pendulum's going? Because it's not going the way you think it's going, buddy.
Oh God! And it's not going toward him and his ilk being strung up in the gallows. I mean, that's not anybody's, end game or desire or like, all we want is to all just fucking live in peace with each other, right? I mean, that if you just overly simplify the desires of the left, I think that's what it is, right?
That's the basic thing, yeah. Everybody's
let's just
reasonably taken care of and able to live in peace. I do think, though, that if he ended up in a gallows, I wouldn't be too upset about it. I'm not suggesting it. I'm not claiming that anyone should do it. But if it were to happen, well, I wouldn't be crying about it. That's all I'm saying.
I wouldn't want it to look like anything that he's ever predicted for himself. I would say if he stepped out in front of a bus and got hit by it, I'm not going to shed a tear.
No.
Right.
Maybe it'll be Haman's gallows for himself. He'll create these gallows for all these communists that he's worried about. I don't know any communists, but apparently they're out there. But then maybe when the world gets a little nicer and his buddy Trump is voted out and, Black Lives Matter even to NASCAR, he'll find a use for those gallows that he's building for other people. So Frank, we had some people writing into us, calling into us. We have some correspondence is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
I'll start with Will, who wrote to us an email, said, "Hey, TGIA. Today," and by the way, from the rhetoric, I can tell this is not an American writing to us.
Oh, okay.
Will doesn't tell us where he's writing, but anyway, here we go. "Today I just finished my final exam for a quantum mechanics paper I was taking this semester, and my mom this morning told me that she would pray for me to do well in the exam. I'm in the 4th year of my degree, and every time I do well in a difficult assignment or exam, my parents generally make some comment like, 'I put one up for you,' meaning a prayer. They know I don't believe in any higher power, and I generally just shrug their comments off. However, today I found it particularly grating and actually asked her not to pray. I feel like they're undermining the amount of work I put into my studies and trying to convert me by showing me that every time they pray, I somehow do well. I know they do it because they think they're helping me, but they are not. Is it appropriate to ask them to stop? I don't really care if they pray or not. I just don't want them telling me about it anymore." So,
yeah.
Will, thanks for writing in. It's a tough situation because, yes, what's happening is they're not letting you have the credit for the work that you're doing.
For the hard work.
Sucks.
Yeah.
That feels like shit. So it might be an interesting thing to do to just have that conversation with them. Just say, "Listen, here's what I hear when you say that.
Yeah.
When you tell me I prayed for you and that's why you did well, what I hear is I don't acknowledge the hard work that you put in. I'm giving someone else credit for you doing well, and that hurts my feelings."
Yeah.
I feel like if you spell it out for them that way, rather than making it about the prayer, like if you make it about prayer, then it's about their religion, you not believing in their religion and you attacking their religion and blah, 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 and they're not going to respond well to that. But if you make it about your feelings, I think they might be a little more open to understanding. I don't know your parents, but
wouldn't work with mine.
Well, it's not going to stop them from praying, but it might be what makes them understand, like,
maybe stop flaunting it and throwing it in your face.
Right. It might be what makes them understand why their incessant, like, telling you about it makes you feel bad. Because that's the problem here. The problem isn't the praying. They want what's best for you. It's the one way they know to try and enact that. I get it. You're not going to stop that. And you shouldn't stop it. It's harmless. But they need to know what it's making you feel, rather than like, "Oh, the boy just hates it when he just hates Jesus and he hates our religion, and it just hurts my feelings so much. Instead of making it a battle of atheist versus religious person, just tell them about your feelings. It's harder.
Yeah.
It feels more vulnerable, but I am guessing that would have a better effect.
Yeah, if you can get them to just not tell you about their prayers, I think that would be a win.
Yeah, totally.
Because it's a total dick thing.
And it doesn't hurt to say,
on their
look,
part.
I understand that you are doing this because you want to help and because you love me. You know what I mean? Preface it with that. Just acknowledge their lived experience and then tell them about yours. And maybe they'll be able to hear you and maybe they won't. And I hope something can be arrived at. We also had a voicemail, did we not?
Yes, we do. This is from Donnie, longtime listener of the show.
Oh, we love Donnie.
And he calls from time to time and shares stories and whatnot that's happening in his life. This is, he's going to get into some pretty deep Mormon stuff here.
Oh, yeah. He dives deep into Mormon theology.
Yeah, so like the gist of it is, and as he references, this is about Mormon temple marriages and how they work, right?
Yeah, because those are not just for here. Oh, no. A temple marriage is for eternity.
Yes.
But there's some complexities to it, and Donnie's about to get into it.
Yeah, together as a family forever.
Right.
And because of Mormonism's roots in polygamy, there's some weird stuff with how some of this works. So.
Yeah, because they had to figure out who went with whom.
Well, let's just listen. Let's just hear his story.
Hey guys, it's Donnie in Mount Shasta, California again. Anyway, so I've been listening to some of your older episodes, and I've noticed that there's a theme that any time the concept of polygamy comes up, you discuss the idea of how men can be sealed to multiple women if their first wife dies for whatever reason and all that, but that women don't have the same privilege. So I actually come from a family where my mother's first husband died, and I have 4 siblings who were his children and adopted by them that were sealed to them before he passed away. Here's the odd thing about it, though. My mother remarried and had 4 more kids, of which I am number 3. And the weird thing about it is I am not even sealed to my birth father. I am actually sealed to her first husband. And when I was first informed of this, they're temple married and everything. My father's a Mormon in good standing. They both are. But when I was first informed of this, it made me cry because this guy I didn't even know was supposedly going to be my eternal dad. And like Frank always says, I was always told it'll be taken care of during the millennium. Don't worry about it. So I just thought that's a little tidbit that a lot of people don't know, that even the later children, I don't know if this is still the policy, but even the later children of a woman with a deceased husband are actually sealed to the deceased husband. Anyway, have a good one. Love the show as always. Talk to you guys later.
Oh, Donnie, I feel so bad for you. That's like, what a shitty thing to grow up with.
That is a crazy
what a
mind
horrible
fuck
message
right there.
to a kid.
Oh my God, I've never thought of that because
Well, he says it,
unfortunately,
and
the
it makes
woman
total
is
sense, right? In sort of that Mormon think, right?
Yeah.
Of like how these things work in the afterlife.
Yeah, 100%. It's like, if you, because a woman can only be sealed to one guy. So if she wants to stay sealed to her previous family and her new family,
and have those kids still sealed to her. Now the wackadoo thing is the position that Donnie's actual father was in.
Right.
And the things that he agreed to when he got into that marriage.
God, it's just nuts. That is so rough. So rough. And here's the other thing.
He's just going to be a brother, uncle, or an uncle brother. Sister wife.
My God.
A brother husband.
A brother husband. I look at that and I just think, there's this neat trick that Mormons are able to do. I did it when I was a Mormon, which is not to ask too many questions about the afterlife, because it all breaks down real quick if you just actually delve into the logic of it. Like, families are supposed to be together forever, but if I'm supposed to be together with my mom and she's supposed to be together with her mom, and there's like, is it just one big clusterfuck? Except that no, because we're all supposed to have our own like universes to create, our own planets and our own things to populate, and none of it has ever made any sense at all.
Right.
But once you start actually having to delve into the problems of like things like Donnie's mom, that it gets nutso. And so sorry, Donnie, that your dad isn't your real dad. That sucks.
Ugh. But that's what the millennium's for.
It's what the millennium. They'll clean it all up. They'll figure it all out. They'll sort it. They've got 1,000 years.
The Earth will be as an urmamenthumum. I can't even say the words anymore.
Oh my God. Thanks for calling, Donnie. Do we have any folks to thank today?
We do, Dan. We have a list today.
Oh,
remarkable. Let's see. We have yes, these are new patrons on Patreon. These are supporters of the show, members of the TGIA community, who went to thankgodimatheist.com and clicked on the support tab. And we have, we have one new deacon by the name of Jonathan.
Thank you, Jonathan.
We have 2 new teachers by the names of Travis and James.
Excellent.
Thanks to both of you. We actually have a new patriarch, Dan.
Oh my goodness.
Patriarchs don't happen very often, so this is awesome. We have Randy, a new patriarch. Randy, you don't even know, man. You get
it's amazing.
You're like a psychic now.
Yeah.
You tell people their futures, man.
Yeah, you sir are a fortune teller. So congratulations on that. In Mormondom, you are now one of the greats.
And we actually have another who didn't select a pledge level, but I guess would have qualified as a patriarch, and that's somebody by the name of Gilbo. So, but they sort of selected their own amount and didn't select a tier. So, but thank you, Gilbo, as well.
Amazing.
Absolutely amazing. And so like I said, if you'd like to join up with these kind folk, just go to thankgodimatheist.com, click on the support tab. There's also a PayPal route that you can go if you want to send a one-time donation, or sign up monthly on PayPal too. Plenty of people do that. And then we have our top donor, our Lord and Savior, Davis.
Well, thank you all so much. We love you dearly. Congratulations on being able to give us blessings now. And you are blessing us. And there's more to come.
Dan.
Hey.
Apparently there's this thing where people sometimes do where they act like they know something that they don't know. And
what? Who would ever do such a thing?
I guess it's called overclaiming, right?
Yes.
And you brought this study to my attention that sort of looked at a group of believers, right?
A couple of groups of believers, as it turns out.
That's right. Who were basically presented with a bunch of biblical stories, right? And in the mix were fake biblical stories. And
so
tell us a little bit more about this. Tell us how this all works.
This comes from Psychology Today, or Psychology Today, if you want to have fun with the pronunciation. And it's a study that was done by a group from University of Nevada, Reno. And what they decided to do was test what is called social dominance orientation, which is a personality trait that basically sees the world as or at least sees human society as being something that is organized into a hierarchy system. Sort of talks about what rung on the social ladder you are, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And common among people who exhibit social dominance orientation is a characteristic known as self-enhancement. And that self-enhancement is the tendency to see oneself in an overly favorable or undeservedly favorable light.
Okay.
And
I've known some people like this.
right. and also common in that set is the tendency to claim that they know things that they don't know. I can't think of a single person of prominence that has haunted our country for 3 years now who would fall into that category, but they apparently exist. Anyway,
Okay.
So yes, like you say, what they did was they took a bunch of a list of 73 items from the Bible and asked people to rate their knowledge of these stories. And it's items like Noah's Ark or the Ten Commandments or whatever, and you would say you're either 0, meaning you've never heard of that, or 6, meaning you're very familiar with that. And some of them were really obvious and some were very obscure. And as you say, a group of them were fake. And so these people thought that they were taking sort of a Bible literacy quiz when actually they were taking a quiz on how willing they are to claim that they know something that doesn't exist, that they couldn't possibly know. And of course, a group of people were much more willing to claim that they knew something than the others. And that was interesting because they asked other questions that were not related to Bible stories within this study. And one of the questions was, they sort of asked people to say whether they supported or didn't support a few statements. And some of those statements were things like, quote, "I swell with pride when a member of my religion uses violence to get our message across."
Ugh.
Or, conversely, "I feel ashamed when someone acts aggressively in the name of God." And here's the thing. They correlated. The people who were more willing to claim that they knew stuff that they didn't know were also more supportive of violence in the name of their God. So how interesting is that shit?
On a scale of 1 to 6, right?
Sure, yes. 0 meaning not at all interesting, and 6 meaning holy shit.
I'd give it a solid 5.
Solid 5. I would agree with you on that front. It doesn't come as a shock.
Yeah.
But it is interesting that would happen. I think that ends up being a very telling thing. Now, there is some question and you and I were discussing this. They did this, by the way, they did this with Christians here, but they also did it with Muslim people in Iran and got very similar results.
Really? Wow.
So
now see,
go ahead.
But why is it? Why is religion part of this?
Well, that's an interesting
question.
question.
Religion, because these Bible stories just almost seem to be the thing that they're using to test whether somebody's willing to lie about knowing something or not. But you could just as easily have it be in not a Bible literacy, but like a film literacy or a literary literacy.
Yeah, exactly. Have you heard of these books? How familiar are you with these books? And then, you pepper in some fake titles along with, To Kill a Mockingbird and The Sun Also Rises or whatever. I agree that's an interesting question.
Like
and
I kind of just want to know how that works in, right? And apparently that's...
Yeah, because it's not just because atheists could also be, are also likely prone in similar numbers to social dominance orientation, to being oriented toward a hierarchical idea of society, and it's hard to know whether those people, are also supportive of violence within their in-group in similar ways that Christians are. There's another really interesting correlation, however, which they discovered, which was that prayer was positively and significantly associated with supporting religious aggression. But church attendance and religiosity were not. So apparently people who pray more are more associated with religious aggression. Now that to me is fascinating.
Yeah.
I don't know what it said. What does that say about prayer, or the propensity, or the? I mean, maybe it says something about. Because to me, what I associate with people who pray is people who don't feel. Because when you feel like you've got a handle on your life, you don't necessarily go
Right.
to God for much.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you're not. When you feel like you understand the world around you and you're able to make your own way in it, it feels like that those people are less likely to go to God and ask for help.
Sure. Yeah. Because everything. Yeah. Okay.
This is
Everything's
just
going well,
guesswork. We are
yeah.
not talking about the study right now. We're talking about Dan guessing about things.
So what you're suggesting though is that because things aren't necessarily maybe going very well for somebody, so they are relying on prayer, that they might enjoy the hearing about violence.
They might indulge
enacted in sort of the name of their God.
Yeah,
or
my
belief
side's
system,
winning.
Or
I like it when my side wins or something.
I mean, it's hard to draw conclusions from these things, right? Because
Right.
I mean, it's brand new. It's a study that, I mean, I don't know what it all means for
right.
for like as far as like actual takeaways, but I mean, it sounds as good as anything, right? Like,
Well, and I think that also, like when I hear about this self-enhancement where people are seeing themselves as being, more high and mighty than they actually are. My guess is that comes from a pretty deep underpinning of not feeling up to snuff, of having low self-esteem. So they mask it with this higher, with this inflated sense of self. And if that were the case, then yeah, I can see them both needing to pray more often and also needing to, like, sort of feel an aggressive sense of justice from within their in-group, a sense that like they are the winners and that they can take on all comers and all of that sort of thing.
yeah,
I don't know. Just guessing. Just out there guessing, but I thought that was a really interesting sort of glimpse into a type of, because look, every major religion on the face of this earth claims to be a religion of peace, and every major religion on the face of this earth ain't. So it's always been one of the great sort of mysteries. How can you claim to be the religion of peace? How can you talk about Jesus's message being, peace and love and, be kind to your neighbor and, if someone strikes you, turn the other cheek and all of that stuff, and then have centuries of history of just murdering the shit out of everybody?
because nobody chooses their religion, right?
Well, there's that.
Right. So, or not, I can't say nobody, but like, typically you don't choose your own religion. Conversion set aside here, right?
Right.
And so like, if you grow up Christian, right, and you're a shitty person because you're just a shitty person,
Yeah.
right? Like that's just like, anyway. I don't know exactly the point that I'm trying to make, but like why do you see like why is there this like disconnect between the message of Christianity, which is one of supposedly of peace, and the fact that like it has a hard time finding people who enjoy that message, right?
Or who connect to it, or who even understand
yeah.
that message.
Exactly, right? Like, well, if you just grow up, if you're just given this and forced to be in this religion, and people are generally have a lot of problems with violence and dealing with in-group, out-group type situations and whatnot, then I mean, your religion is going to prove to be no better than any other religion in preventing violence, I don't think, unless it's a remarkable religion. And there do seem to be a couple of those out in the world that succeed slightly better. I don't know if that's true, though. I think it's my perception.
I don't either, because I used to hold up, Buddhists as like, well, they're not violent, and then you look, and then Myanmar proves me wrong. So okay, I guess it's just people that are violent. And the other thing to me is like all religions, any religion that believes that they are correct, and not all religions fall into this, but certainly the Abrahamic ones all believe that theirs is the right and revealed word of God.
Right.
And that means that everyone else is wrong. And so you're breeding in a sense of superiority. It's just baked into the dough.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about that. I am superior to you. You're wrong. And so anybody who, you're starting from a place of a superiority complex.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not healthy.
So.
I'm just saying it ain't healthy. When your religion has to be studied in psychology today, there's a problem. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, listen, if you have anything you'd like to add, dear listener, to this conversation, we'd love to hear from you. Write to us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yep. Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and click on that like button.
And while you're there on Facebook, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It is a closed group. We will let you in. Also find us on Twitter @TGIA Atheist. Good things happening over there.
And speaking of that, thanks so much to Amy and Danny for your help on the Members Only Lounge.
And a big thanks goes out to the Red Rock Hot Club and Gordon Johnston for the use of their music.
And thanks to you, dear friends, for tuning in. We sure appreciate you.
Bye-bye.